We'll just figure out what you guys already all know, and do you want just the basics first, or
Well, I sort of
get the
kind of
concept?
did
kinda?
a
Yeah.
little research on the basics, but I don't know enough.
Okay,
I
well, no
haven't
worries. We'll
tried
go
it.
through.
I want to play around.
Definitely, that's why I have a couple of stages of doneness here to kind of show people. But of course, the very first thing that you're going to have to do, and what Liz.
Is this the doll rereading?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it swapped because of the AV. The AV ended up over there with the projector. So yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we should have probably announced that, but I can't do it. Okay, so you gotta get the doll's head off. So that's kind of a point of contention for some people, because if you pull too hard, you can tear the vinyl. So the whole thing is to actually heat up the doll heads. Yeah, but that's actually no big deal because it's inside. As long as it doesn't tear the neck hole, you're all set.
So we did our striptease.
We're like a stripper. We have a nice sexy spa robe for dance here. Okay, so the hotel has been nice enough to provide me with probably scathing hot water. So we're hoping this is going to be enough. I've done it with really, really hot tap water, but also I've done it with boiling water. Now, boiling water, you would have your little saucepan on the stove, and you would dunk the whole head in. It's not going to ruin makeup, so if you're just trying to get rid of hair, it works for you. But if, obviously we're doing this for Root, so it's not going to be a big deal, but it will make the hair stay in the condition that it is dunked in. So don't be alarmed if that's it. But you can cut the hair off first, you can leave it on, it doesn't matter. The principle's all the same. So in this case, we have a nifty thermos full of hot water, so I don't know if I should try.
You want me to hold something?
Well, I'm just going to see how hot. All right. Yogi. So I'm thinking if we fill the bowl with hot water, I can do the dunk method. But you can, in essence, like a faucet, you can also hold her under a faucet, under a pour, and do the same thing. What you're trying to achieve is getting this part of the head warm so that the vinyl stretches versus tearing.
Because this is what it's coming off.
Yeah, there's a little neck knob, it's shaped funny. Needs a little help coming up and over. So hold your breath, darling, there you go. Although that would be fun. The hotel probably would not appreciate it. Yeah, but that's hot. And the big thing about this portion of the program is patience. If you have a lot of patience, you'll be just fine. Because you get her wet. Yeah. And you give it a slight tug and just see how things are going inside. You don't force, obviously. Once it starts pulling away from the neck knob, you can actually get the water down inside of the head. Dunking is going to be perfect. So, make the pool deeper. There we go. And it takes a few seconds because I buy Monster High dolls that have spent many, many moons in the packaging. Sometimes their hands are kinked, the accessories are kinked. You dunk it in boiling water and you can watch the plastic reform itself into where it was molded. And that's how you fix hands that have been jacked up. Accessories, I had a purse, my Cupid's purse, the straps were all wonky. One dip, you can watch the plastic go right back to this.
Well, thank you.
Plastic's amazing, it's great stuff. It's polluting our environment, but for our usage it's amazing. All right, yeah, see we're starting to get some pliability there. But again, we don't want to force it because we don't want to tear.
Here's somebody who's already apart so you can see
Yes, you've got pass it around, touch anything you want up there, mess with hair, whatever you guys like. The scuba champion of the world. And one warning too, if you were using a saucepan on the stove, you don't want to probably rest your head on the pan in the bottom because you've got hot metal and you don't want to melt anything. Hair again is no issue because essentially you're taking the hair out, but of course you don't want to make her nose melt off or anything like that.
And I would not wait and paint after you've done this.
I would, although in my experience the paint usually isn't harmed doing this, but better safe than sorry. And also a good note, this does work for integrity dolls, but you're going to lose your eyelashes. So if you like your eyelashes the way they are and don't want to move them back on, you probably want to do a heating pad method. Yay! Woo! Nobody's hurt, are they? Nope. All right, this is good because aside from a damp chair, the neck knob has pulled out of the neck. Oh my God! No, it's because this got super hot and it squished. It can be popped back in. So again, any little points of contention, is no big deal. So now that she's nude, I grab my Austin. You can get these in bait and tackle shops. You can get them sometimes in your local Walmart in the hunting section. They're for tying fishing flies, but they're amazing for rooting. They're amazing for any of this stuff. So now that she's disembodied, I can float her, and I can heat up that knob, and I can get it out of her head and get it back in the body where it belongs. It's kind of good when bad things happen, because you can learn how to deal with it.
Oh, and you can get them at beauty shops too.
Oh, yep,
Yeah?
yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're, I'm trying to remember what the name of.
Hemostats.
Yeah, they're hemostats. They're actually.
They're
for-
surgical, yeah.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah, yeah.
And they're what I,
So I've been using my fingers
she's
like
coming.
a fool.
Oh, she's
I got a stormer and cut off her hair. She hasn't rerooted yet, but I used the hemostat to go in and pull the hair out from underneath.
There are also a few people out there that cast these neck knobs, so if you do come across a doll and the neck knob does tear, you could find another. It's possible to replace it. So
I have a Jetta who has
You
a
got your
plastic
night
straw
already lined
holding
up?
her
What
hair.
time? That chair's wet.
yeah, that one's we just bathed it in super duper.
So you
hot
can
water.
no, just pull. You can pull this one, but that one is the upside down one is wet.
Maria is doing this as a huge favor to me, so I'm very, very
Yeah,
appreciative.
not a problem. And I've done it enough that, I mean, it seems like old hat for me, but I know how some folks might feel like this is just beyond their capabilities, and trust me, it really isn't. It's all about the patience, because you don't want the vinyl to tear, you don't want the neck knob to tear, but you see it's starting to come out of the head. But again, we don't want to do anything we don't want to regret, so we're going to keep it heated.
Okay. So this I'm gonna ask you something.
Yeah, go ahead,
I'm
keep
seeing you
talking.
tinkering, and I'm seeing that it's involved with hot or steam or
Yes,
hot water.
it's hot water, yes.
Okay. Do you guys remember the Caruso hair curler?
I remember the brand name.
It was this. It's back in the '90s. It's this machine that blew steam, and women will put the curls on
Yes.
top,
Oh, yeah.
and you will
Yes.
fill the curler with hot steam.
Yes,
Will
I
you
do
think
recall
that will
that.
work as I'm putting
It
the?
very well possibly could. Now, the only curlers I have an actual metal prong that heats up.
No.
But if it's just steam, then yes.
The thing is blowing steam from the
Yes.
top of it, and you put the plastic curl on, and the.
Just don't burn yourself, but yeah,
That's what I'm thinking. If I can put the neck of the doll.
Dance, play nice. Here it comes. Yeah, buddy.
Because I'm a giant klutz, and I think I'm gonna do
So you
3
can
times
just now
worse than
see
what you
that
did.
little, that's starting to come out, but you notice also the vinyl is kind of attached, so that's why we're being gentle, because we don't want anything to tear, but I think we got her. This is it. We got one last little spot of contention, and we're good to go.
I've seen people using heating pads.
Heating
too.
pads do work. Integrity, especially, they use it to keep the heat away from the eyelashes, so you don't have to mess with them. And essentially, if you tear a tiny bit of vinyl, did you hear that? That was
So
it.
that super malleable
All right,
bit.
so-
That's the same as this really
That's
hard.
exactly,
bit
but it's
right
not
here.
hard anymore because it's like
Because you
super hot.
did it.
So that's that right there, and I'll show you something important about that in just a second. But essentially, this is what Liz is going to want for her blaze. So we're going to hand that
I've
to
always
her
been
for
afraid
now.
of getting that out.
What's that?
I was always afraid of taking this
So
out
this
and
is
not
the
being
part that is
able-
connected to the doll.
To the doll, correct. And the thing that's important, if you do get the neck knob out of the neck, because the neck obviously does not change shape unless you have a crack. We just heated this up super much so it squished and pulled out. But you notice there's like a little window, like a little spaceman looking at you. That faces, and it's in line with a flat spot on the neck knob. You want that to be in against, there's like a little knobby inside the neck. That's what keeps Gem head from turning only so far. Because you don't want it to be a, exorcist and go spinning all the way around.
Right.
So you're going to want to line that back up again. So what I'm going to do is toss that back in our hot water, let it steep. We pop it back in here, and essentially this gets set aside. You can spa treatment your body at this point. Yellow leg is a big thing for these old dolls.
I don't know what that ribbon is, though.
It's okay, it's cute, I like it. Yellow leg can be taken off with acetone, just don't get it on the plastic body. But yeah, you'll see it's almost like you're washing your nails off. It'll just come right off the legs, make them nice and sexy and pink and pretty again. Wash it afterwards, but I use straight acetone. You can use nail polish remover, just know nail polish remover always has additives in it because your skin is, obviously meant to have moisture back in it. These guys don't care, so acetone's fine for that.
So it will also work for Synergy?
Yes. Yes, I actually have used it because the purple legs of Synergy are actual dyed rubber. It's not like they've coated it, so you're not going to take a coating off. You're essentially just getting, impurities off of the rubber. But it is, important again.
So that plug is universal? They use
Oh,
it
that
for-
plug is in all of them.
Okay.
Every doll has that exact same plug.
Yeah, I should probably get the tweezers set up. I think his might have been white. I don't even know.
It could be. It's just different forms of plastic,
Yeah.
really. It's whatever came off the line at the time. All right.
I
don't
couldn't
even
even
think
set
we
that.
need that. And this is easy too.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, I
Oh,
think
that's sightseeing.
At least somebody does.
I'm glad I peed before this.
Oh, yeah.
Playing in hot
too.
water and letting it run. All right. I burn myself cooking a lot, so I really don't have much feeling in my fingers. So we're waiting for that to do, and like I said, there's a knob in there. You put the flat spot of the bulb in the knob, and once you hear that pop back in, essentially this is going to sit on a shelf and you finish your doll head. And that's, you notice, I have a kit I take with me to work. I take with me if I know I'm going to be sitting in a doctor's office for 1,000 years. It's just neat. If you have it all set up, it's easy to do while you're waiting. So I have a Tupperware container that I probably hid on myself. Yeah, it's in here now. But I carry my doll heads in my Tupperware container, and I have my little plastic bag kit full of all my tools, which we'll go over in a second.
And it goes well through security.
I checked it. I put it in a checked bag, and no one was the wiser. They didn't care. Needles, the surgical tools, nobody questioned me. They opened my carry-on because of doll stands.
Yep, they hate the stands.
But, and he swore I had food, but I think it was the little taco thing container of the palm trees that set off the thing. But that's my little kit. My heads go in there with my needles, my floss, anything that I might need to root. Yep, she's squishy again, and I think just a gentle pop will get that back in. So again, the little window, the spaceman faceplate, I guess if you want to call it something.
Facing the back.
Facing the front. You're going to want to
facing
hit,
the-
there's a
okay.
little knob that you can see down in here, and you want that back there. But again, we want to be gentle.
Right.
Don't want to damage anything. And I think Liz was saying that she's actually going to put the head on a different body.
Yep, I'm gonna
because of
switch.
shoulder chips.
Yep.
That's the other thing. If you have a perfectly good doll head, you're not even rooting it, that you want to, trade
Put on a
bodies out.
nicer
Like
body.
one that's just terrible condition, missing hands, and you have a perfectly beautiful body, no head, swapping heads. Just remember, hot water is going to make that hair stay in the position the water was. So if you're pouring it, she's going to have a mohawk. If you're dunking her, it'll look like a real big poofy swirl at the end. But you know simply to dump more hot water over the head to straighten it back out again, curl it, whatever you want to do.
Okay.
So essentially-
So if you're just doing like making a head fuller, you just have to re-hot water it. and-
Exactly.
Okay.
Boil perms. Boil perms are a good thing too. Regular human hair curlers will work. I use straws because of the scale. It's closer to doll. Bobby pins that are coated, because I've run into rust issues. Coated bobby pins and straws make a good one. But if you have the patience to roll the hair all up completely, yay, just like that. And see, notice it only goes so far, but it's still squishy because it's hot. But we'll let her sit and cool, and then it's all set.
And then here's my colors for Blaze.
Yep, she's got blaze colors. I have
I
examples.
hate you, Liz.
Probably gonna mix these two together, but I
that's
don't
me.
know.
That's me. Sorry.
Okay, great. So there's Miss Body. She can be over here. It's much like Clue, right?
Yes.
All right, so once your head is off, and you can do this with any doll. Some doll heads are a lot harder than others. Gem is more rigid than Winx. I mean, give them a squish. You know, Gem has a kind of a rigid head, where Winx is very squishy. Barbie's very squishy, real easy to root. These guys take a little bit of finesse because getting through that plastic. A lot of times, my needle did not start out bent this way. It just happens as you use it to try to get down through that neck hole. And essentially, if you have a really, really rigid head, it's hard to do. My Little Pony Equestria Girls. I did one for a gentleman in California. Worst head ever, because she has a very sloped neck, and to get out of that hole for the back
yeah.
holes. So my tool there was beading wire. I was able to use beading wire in place of my dental floss that I usually use, because it was acting like a needle and the floss.
The curve needle for weaves doesn't work for you?
You could use that. I just don't have one.
Oh,
I just
okay.
use darning needles. You find these at the craft store. And essentially, there's a couple of really good 6-inch ones that work best for Jem, because it gives you a lot of room to play. That
Okay.
way you can get it out the head, because it's kind of hard when you go down through, you're trying to see the point of the needle and get it out through the neck hole. So some heads are more challenging. Heat will always help. Now you're gonna laugh. You set it under your arm for a few minutes. You know, when I'm one of those people, I make plugs. I make plugs ahead of time. We'll get into that. So while I'm doing that, I'll either have it in my bra, I'll have it under my arm. But a little bit of body heat will do wonders and makes it a little squishier, a little easier to deal with. No, you set a few plugs, it's gonna get cool again. You put it back under, everything's happy. So, except the doll, probably. Alrighty, so where are we at
What
here?
price beauty?
What's that?
What price beauty?
Exactly, exactly. So let's start with Liz's head. She wandered off, but it's okay. One other awesome tool to use that I found is a crochet hooks. Now I crochet anyway, so I have a whole kit of these things. But you get the super tiny ones that are meant for like doilies and tatting, and they're like the best thing ever to go up inside the head and yank the hair plugs out, because that's essentially the next step. You're going to want to pull all the hair out so you can start and get it to that level. And if you care about changing the head color, you'll want to take the hair color off with acetone, paint new color on, whatever you want to do. These guys, I didn't bother to paint. I just left them natural because I know they'd be nice and thick and you can't see the scalp through the hair. But if you wanted to keep true to Jem, she would take and paint the head probably the neutral color, probably one of the darker yellows. That way if it does shine through, it's not going to be a big deal. So you take your nifty little crochet hook.
Right.
Now,
Where?
you go up inside the neck.
Right.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, quick question.
Yeah.
I have an old My Little Pony doll,
Uh-huh.
the Megan, and I've always wanted to try to poke in more holes to make her head a little more fuller.
You can do anything you want once you get to that stage.
What's the best tool to use for adding
That.
just a
The same
needle?
exact needle I use, because it's still wicked sharp. You just and vinyl is very self-healing anyway. So even if you put a hole where you don't want it to be,